You're tuned in to RX Radio.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Another episode of RX Radio. Joining us today, probably the most requested, most downloaded fitness influencer that exists right now. He's like Hansel with a bunch of tattoos. He's so hot right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Van Wyk. Mike is a close friend of the show. And by close, I mean he's literally down the hall right now. So Mike has sort of finally started to get recognized for his training style. His ascension through the social media ranks in the last year has been nothing short of meteoric. He's headed to the sky, my friend. No, Mike's a huge beauty. Is not afraid to call it like it is. One of my favorite people to train with. One of my favorite people to talk to. Very interesting dude. Just has his way of doing things and his way of communicating that I find to be super effective, super funny. Do give him a follow on Instagram. The stuff he's putting up on his YouTube channel as well is super informative, entertaining, and he's a tough guy to argue with because he'll literally kill you with his bare hands. Now, Mike's a nice kind of dude you ever want to meet, so we do appreciate him taking the time. One of our most requested guests by far. Listen to the episode. It's not any wonder as to why. That being said, paying the bills. Prescript Collective is now live for sale. Monthly subscription product that's going to give you access to industry leaders across fields of biomechanics, strength and conditioning, nutrition, and basically everything health and fitness related. Small, digestible, actionable lectures that are spun up specifically for our community. So we have our Emerging Ideas lecture series with 2 keynotes a month. We have an in-depth literature review going over specific topics at length with group discussions on each topic. And we also have our community aspect integrated into the product as well, so we can be able to discuss these topics at further length with everyone in the Prescript Collective. So that's including myself, Jordan Genta, Killian Hamilton, James Thayer, Eric Bugera, Kyle Baxter, James McIntosh, all at the ready to discuss all things fitness and strength. So guys, head on over. Prescript Collective is now live. Register, join the community, and enjoy the episode. Make sure you screenshot, put it up on the gram, tag Big Mike Van Wyk on Instagram at @the_muscle_doc, at Killian.Hamilton, at RX Radio, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.
Do you have a question you field most often?
No, just like when's the program coming, and then also like what is the, like I'll tell people like send me a video of you doing it, or like tag me in something and whatever, right? And to just see like, it's like a lot of people are understanding the movement, like the pattern of what I'm doing, but it's just too fast, or it's like jerky, or it's like it's still this like just a race to get something to the top.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't understand, like I think tempo is the biggest thing that people miss out on bodybuilding training, where it's like,
is there an exercise you see most commonly performed less optimally? I don't want to say incorrectly, but like, is there an exercise where you're like, man, most people most of the time, if I get into videos, or is it just everything at this point?
I think chest people have a lot of like a hard time with, and back. So people have a hard time engaging back because they're rushing the movement so much, right?
Yeah.
So they understand like maybe the slower you start the pull, and the more you crack, like the more you pull your hand to begin the movement, as opposed to just like arch and rip that thing back. It's like you might be able to slow things down and feel things better, even if you're doing it with form that I don't think is optimal. But like you're just, the movement, the actual mechanic is just way too fast, right?
So like more often than not, your advice to most people most of the time is like, slow it down.
Yeah, it's just like fucking like slow down the start of the movement.
Okay.
Or like, think more about flexing a muscle as opposed to pulling a bar at you, right? So don't think, like, disassociate from your hands in the sense that like I'm going to pull something through and I'm going to arch, I'm going to lift my sternum and arch and squeeze through my back and dig my elbows behind me, right? Yeah. As opposed to people are just like holding bar, get bar here, let bar go. Do you know what I mean? Or handle.
Did you ever think you'd get back into fitness in this way? Like, obviously like competitive bodybuilder, but did you think like you'd have because you are probably the most, and I don't like using the I word, but like you've ascended to like influencer status with no negative connotation very quickly. Like most people would look at an Instagram account and be like, well, I want to get an X number, whatever. And you've seemingly not that hasn't been your focus seemingly at all, and you've been able to kind of re-emerge into bodybuilding in a completely different capacity than your previous career. Did you ever think, like, as you were, you know, putting the stage behind you, that this would be your, like, this is on the roadmap for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously not like this whole scenario that's playing out, but like when I was a bodybuilder and when I was training people prior to like this and helping different people, like my buddy Jerome turned pro and a few other people, it's like I changed, like my eye for like the movement I thought they should be doing was always the same. So like I've always trained this way and I've always done things this way, up like maybe until I met my buddy Darren, who passed away. Like I met him and then I literally abandoned everything I did and reformulated my whole way of working out, right? So since that point, I kind of knew, like, because I would obviously go to all these gyms, I was going everywhere, and I'd see people moving. I'm like, man, that's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you can go anywhere in the world and you can walk. Like, I was just in California last week, and I was at a gym there. I won't say the name, but it's just like, the people in that gym are, I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I know exactly what gym, based purely off that description.
Yeah,
and
like,
I'm not going to say the name.
It's just like, it's weird because like, it's like there's gyms out there, obviously, that aren't as well equipped as this gym. Like, and a few are. But like, there's other gyms you go to where people are literally improvising the stupidest movements and trying to emulate or like mimic something of like a machine or something somewhere else because they have limited resources, but they're just fucking it up beyond belief. It's like, why don't you just use the machines you have and be better at that instead of like, oh, I'm going to wrap a band around my waist and fucking hold a fucking TRX rope and I'm going to slide my foot on a fucking whatever and like do some weird squat. It's just like all this like made up bullshit where it's like, you guys aren't even good at what you have.
Right.
And you're trying to make more new exercises, like you're fucking reinventing the wheel. It's like, get good at the basics first, because your dumbbell curl sucks. Like your hack squat sucks. And it's just on a track that moves on one path.
Yeah,
all you got to do is do it.
How can you be so bad at something that's so simple?
It's like you're looking for all these like shortcuts or these new cool movements, but it's like, and then you see them go over to like the squat rack and squat, and they're like,
do you see a major difference like between the pro and, I mean, the question sounds obvious, but like you train a range from like general population to Olympia stage. Like, do you see common faults exist across? Like, are the faults that some of the pros might have, or the higher level like NPC guys have, are they very similar to the movement faults that you see in some of like your Gen Pop clients?
Yeah, because like I said this on another podcast the other day, it was like when you train people who are less experienced, it's sometimes easier because they're not programmed, right?
Right.
So like someone like Antoine, let's say, or Regan, or any of these guys who've been lifting a very long time, I'm going to come in and be like, stop doing your cable row like that. And like, we're going to cut your weight in like by 3/4 because you can pull the whole stack. Now we're pulling 70 pounds. Yeah. And it's like, it's a mental fuck for them, right? So that's like I said the other day when I was on Dennis James' podcast, it's like you show these people a new style of movement, and then you see on their face like the engagement, and they're like, oh, and they feel like something they've never felt before. Yeah. But they just treat it as like a novelty thing, and as soon as they're done with you, you'll see them in the gym a week later, and they're fucking doing the same old bullshit, just yanking weight, like.
There does seem to be like a huge reemergence of progressive overload into bodybuilding again. Yeah, and it's always been weird to me because it's exercises that are, you know, if you want to get strong as me, it's always squat, bench, and dead, right? And there's a sport for that, and it's powerlifting. Yeah, and it's like, but the idea that we're getting impressed now by lat pull downs with a certain number of plates per side.
That's what I mean, like in this fucking thing that came out called like the gym pin.
Yeah.
Or it's like you can add a pin.
Yeah, you can add it right to your cock too. I think
that's how it works. It doesn't work like that. Cock pin. That'd be amazing. It's a new business for them.
Yeah, it's already made right now. Yeah, this is getting released. That's on the shelves.
The guy who's watching, fuck, they got it.
Yeah, damn it. But that's, I mean, because I look at that and be like, oh, it's.
Yeah, I don't. That's what I mean. It's like bodybuilding has just become, and anyone who comes in the gym. You used to be like inexperienced guys we'd see in the gym, and they're just like, man, you're pulling like, you're doing a lat row, like a back lat row with a hammer strength, like, and you got 5 plates on it, and you're just yanking it like 2 inches.
Starting the old lawnmower.
Yeah, and it's just like, and you used to be the stupid people. Yeah. Or like the new people who are just like, oh, I just lift weight. And then you'd see like bodybuilders back in the day, and like I'd see guys like when I used to train at good gyms, some of the guys with the best physiques would be doing like dumbbell lateral with, or dumbbell pull, like lat pull with fucking 40 pounds, 50 pounds, but they'd be like locked on their back. They'd know exactly like their chain of movement. So it's like, it's become like now everyone's just like power.
It doesn't make sense to me because like we know the collateral that comes with it. Like the Ronnie documentary came out, I don't know, a few years ago. And it's like, you think that like, and then Dexter Jackson, 6 years his junior, is won what after Ronnie's fourth back surgery. Dex won all four Arnolds in 1 year at 46 years old, and it's like one guy leg pressed 2,300 pounds,
and then they get this. There's like a stigma around guys like Dexter that you hear like, oh, he doesn't train hard. It's like, well, what's your definition of training hard?
Right?
Because he's consistent as fuck, obviously.
Yeah, and
he goes to the gym every day and like. Probably pushes around weight a lot easier like than you ever could, and like massive amounts. But it's just for him, he's worked up to that weight and it's easy for him, or not so difficult.
But also too, I've never seen the Sandow given out for someone who works harder.
No,
it's not like there's some effort coefficient. It's not like, well, yeah, but you know, this guy.
And it's like Ronnie sent people on that path where it's like we saw the videos of like the 800-pound deadlift, and we saw like the fucking crazy squat, and so it's like, and he was Mr. Olympia. That's why. Yeah. It's like, no, he was a genetic freak, man. Yeah. Like that fucking dude looked like insane when he wasn't even on juice yet.
Did you ever see the video of like his daily diet? It's like he just grazed on like eggs and cheese before he worked out. Like, how is the next scene of this clip not him just throwing up into a trash can?
That's why people like. I was gonna do a video with a lawyer like about what I eat in a day, because I don't eat anything like these people. Like I eat a lot of bison and a lot of like elk and stuff like that. That's like my main source of protein. Like I don't eat chicken really, but like even like today when I was coming here, I stopped at Tim Hortons on the way. Like I didn't have a breakfast, a bodybuilder breakfast. Do you know what I mean?
Is part of that because you pay, like at some point in your competing career, you must have done like the chicken and rice thing.
Oh yeah, but I mean even when I was competing in the off season, I wasn't like super strict about what I was eating.
Yeah,
and my carb intake was like probably double what my protein intake was.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't force myself to eat like tons of protein.
Because you gotta be what, pushing 3 bills? Yeah. Because the old adage would be a gram per protein, or a gram of protein per pound of body weight. You've never done that. That is wild.
Other than maybe like when I was competing, and then like I had like my meal plan of like 5, 6 meals, whatever it was, and it was obviously like equaling out to about that much.
Yeah.
But even when I got to that point where I was dieting, it was like every meal I was like, fuck, man, like I don't want to eat this fucking protein. Like just be like mashing it down, or like trying to mash it up into like whatever and eat it with rice.
See, I usually do it like my carbs are my dessert. I eat all my protein first, and it's like, yay, rice. And then I'm like, well, this is lame. And then I just go get cake. And that's why I'm not a bodybuilder.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
Do you see like trends in dieting moving in the same way of trends in training? Like, do you see ebbs and flows? Because I feel like the diet side has been like fairly consistent.
It's just, like it's funny to me that like people are they harp so much on this like diet, like every meal matters, like every meal counts, and like if you miss a meal or you don't eat as much that day, like you fucked up and like everything's gonna fall apart, when it's not. And a lot of guys will tell you, like Quentin's a guy like that too. He doesn't like to eat a lot of food. Like he doesn't eat a ton of food, and like he has to be, even said like before, he's eating like 6 ounces of meat a meal.
Are we talking about the same guy?
Yeah. So it's like, and you'll see like guys like him and guys that are like bigger overall naturally, like they're genetic kind of freaks. Like they don't need to do all this like hard gainer shit where it's like, oh, you have to like 2.2 ounces or grams of protein or whatever, and like this many carbs and this much fat. It's like, those are all great like parameters to set for people to give them structure. But like you and I know, like, you know, NFL football players, I know NFL football player, like that dude and people like him, they're not eating like super programmed.
No.
They're not like, oh, I got to take, it's like, no, they're just freaks, man. Like
Ocho Cinco is like famous for eating McDonald's every day.
Well, it's like, maybe it's not, obviously it's not the best thing for maybe his health, depending on what's happening from eating that food all the time or not getting a lot of micronutrients into his diet, but it's like, he seems all right.
And at a certain point, like, performance is always the proxy, right? Where it's like, we want to make these inferences about training styles of like, you know, these crazy, like the gym pins or the super strict diets. But at the end of the day, it's like, you're not getting a trophy for working hard. You're not getting a trophy for, you know, posting all your
It's
meals.
like, almost there should be like a new category in bodybuilding called like power building or something.
Don't tempt them because they'll fucking do it.
Because
man.
and it should be like your stats are factored into
coefficient?
your score. Yeah, like
Yeah, I mean, and that's the hard part for me is like systems that are simple usually work, and bodybuilding is getting like so expansive, which is great because it allows for more people, but it also kind of like confuses everyone.
there's a lot of people in the bodybuilding space too who are trying to make something very simple very difficult.
Yeah,
Like, and those are the same people that, like, to be honest, weren't that great when they competed anyway.
yeah,
So it's like, what are you talking? Like, how are you telling people what to do?
yeah,
And it's like you're breaking down movements into like these like sectioned or like section pieces where it's like this, and this, and like retract your scapula and like lock down on your lat, and like it's all this like hocus pocus mumbo jumbo shit that like there's a whole faction of bodybuilding that's all about that.
yeah,
Like they just look up to these people like they're the messiah. Like, oh my god, like he told me about my thoracic spine movement, and like, oh my god, like, and now that I understand this, and I'm doing it with 30 pounds, and like I'm moving so slowly yet so efficiently. Now my muscle, and now I'll understand and engage. It's like,
no,
when?
right, yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know, the stories they tell themselves, right? Like, because it's always the people, like the top 10 at the Olympia are probably people that those things have such little to do with the outcome, right? You did a video about genetics the other day, and you're just like, look, if you think it's because of these extraneous factors, like, you're wrong.
Yeah, it's like if it was the drugs, and like the amount of drugs I did, I should have been like twice the size of Ronnie Coleman. You know what I mean? Like, if it was just purely about the drugs going in and they just make you grow, like,
Yeah. And that's another thing too. Like that was the old Lee Priest argument. It's like, just as they don't give you trophies for working hard or dieting strict, they don't give you trophies for taking less, which is like a weird sort of thing that people are like. I love a good bodybuilder TRT dose. Have you heard one of these clowns go like, I'm on TRT, and then they just roll out the laundry list of shit they're on? I was just like, what, doctor? Like, it's testosterone, not trend replacement therapy. Like, yeah, I'm on 70 megs a day. It's like, what are we talking about?
This is these people that like they've convinced themselves that like they'll do a long acting ester, like a testananthate, and they'll shoot it every 2 days.
Love it.
It's like the fucking thing is in your. It's like it peaks at 10 days,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, 7 to 10 days. Like, why are you taking shots in between then?
Yeah.
Dump it and let it fucking enter the system.
Do
and
its thing.
he said, that's a better way to do it, you know, is saturate your receptors. It's like,
That's
what the fuck are you talking about, man?
yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, like it all comes out in the wash, right? Like,
Yeah, it's like-
the best guys in the world aren't the best because of any individual thing. They're just the best at putting it all together.
Yeah.
Do you get tired of it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I walked away from. The reason why I walked away from the sport is just because of all the fucking nonsense with it. And like everyone, there's now this guy's the new guru, and this is the new way to train, and this is like how you should take your juice, and it's never stopped. Like
Yeah.
I've literally removed myself from this for like a good chunk of years, and I came back, and it's the same shit. It's the same shit. It's just different people saying different things, and it's like everyone's obsessed with like. A lot of people are obsessed with JP and his like crazy strength and lifting, and like, but to be really honest with you, JP's physique isn't that nice to look at, man. Like, it's like he's a big motherfucker,
Yeah.
and he's got lots of muscle, but like he's not going to win Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
He's
I'll
not
be
going
the
to
first to tell you that.
yeah. So it's like, but all these guys are training like him.
Yeah.
And he's telling you to the audience, like, I'm not good enough, or I don't think I could do that. I just really like lifting weights heavy, and like this is what I do.
Yeah.
But then these guys are like, no, that's the way. It's just like, is it?
Yeah. I mean, the hard part is like, it's got to be someone, right?
Yeah.
Like it's.
But it's
gonna
also there's a lot of people need to like stop. Like all these people, like some kid wrote a comment on my Instagram the other day being like, Mike, can you give me a program? Can you give me a program, or can you give me a good push-pull leg program? I'm like, no, I don't do that. I don't do push-pull legs. I don't.
Yeah.
It's not what I do. I'm like, I do body parts, and I like specifically like sniper body parts. I don't just like blast a push day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so like I told him like I could send you a program, but I'd be lying to you about what to do, and I can't see what you're doing, so it'd just be complete bullshit, because I'd just be telling you to do something. When you could go to anybody out there who's a great trainer who sells programs and get a program from them, and get the same out of it. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know what you're doing or how you're doing it.
What do you do when you're not around this stuff? Like, I'm assuming the second you leave, like, it's like Bradley Cooper in The Hangover. Like, school's over. I don't know you. You do not exist. Like, if I saw you in public, I wouldn't. It would almost be like that Batman scene where like Alfred's like, I just want to see him, and then we'd wave, and then I would just know, because like you don't want to talk about this when you leave, right? Like,
no, I mean, I don't mind talking about it. I love bodybuilding, and I enjoy the sport, and like I like talking to it about like with people like you who are like, you have a background in something else or a focus in other things, but you understand what it is, and it's not like we're sitting here like obsessing like how many grams of protein did you eat? Like, I did that too. Like. Yeah, it's just like when I leave here, I'm at home with my dogs. Yeah. I'm just hanging the fuck out. And I hang out with people who are so far removed from this world. It's just like when I come here, it's like my dose of this, and then I'm out the door, right?
And that's what I feel like people miss, right? Yeah. And that's why like the grams of protein matter. It's because it's like they don't have that other thing outside of it.
Yeah, it's almost like, it's like I said in one of the videos, it was just like everyone in bodybuilding doesn't seem to have a job. Or like some type of like outside extracurricular thing going on where like my brain gets distracted from this nonsense for a bit.
Right.
Or like I have to live life and this has to fit into my life. It's not like my life.
They should turn it. You know what I watched the other night? Against my own free will, but the Miss America or Miss Universe pageant. Have you seen it? I would love Steve Harvey to be the, like, just get rid of Bob Ciccarello and have Steve Harvey come in but at least there, because I'm watching it and the parallels are hard to miss, right? Like you're watching this Miss Universe thing. And it's like, well, it's pageantry is essentially what it is. And there's a swimsuit round, and obviously there's no most muscular or anything. But like part of it is like, we're going to ask you a question. The answers were terrible. South Africa went on about cancel culture. Like it was the worst answer I've ever heard. But at least there was something, right? Where it's like the one track, because I think the guys that do the best can be guys that have other shit going on.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, I feel like your attention just gets diluted. Like if your attention's diluted to something across 24 hours rather than like really concentrated for the 2 hours you're in the gym, and you focus on like the execution rep over rep, and you focus on like your rest periods, and you focus on, you know, your supplementation, and then you go home and then you focus on your dogs, or you focus on.
It's almost like if you're at work all day, or say you come and train before work, it's like that little window that you have to like train is a lot more focused and a lot more intense because you know you have to get it in, right? Yeah. Like I got to go somewhere after this. I got to pick my kids up. I got to fucking take my kid to basketball practice or whatever the fuck it is, right? Like stuff going on in your life that like makes this like what you enjoy, because it's your release from like real life. Whereas like a lot of people here and a lot of like top like bodybuilders now, it's like they're in this all the time. Yeah. It's like, yeah, they go home and they go relax and all that stuff, but it's like still like, I know I got a meal in an hour. I got to...
Coming back into like the bodybuilding world in like this new capacity, were you like that? Like, you know, before stepping away from it, was that you, or did you always have that balance between like, all right, this is training, this is what I like to do?
No, I never got involved with like anybody in bodybuilding. Like anyone who knows me back when I competed, they don't know me. I just showed up.
Yeah.
Like I hung out with the people I hung out with. I had friends in bodybuilding that I had met like in roundabout ways, but like I was never like involved in like a bodybuilding community.
Yeah.
That's why when like I first showed up back into Canada and I started competing, no one knew who I was. And when I showed up to the Canadas, people were like, they heard some like big guy from Ontario was coming, but like they didn't know what was going on, right?
You weren't really like in the scene.
Yeah, and even when I left, even when I would be at the gym and I'd leave and I'd just go live my life. Like I had one girlfriend that competed ever, and she got into competing because I was like, she liked working out. I was like, you have crazy potential. Like your genetics are through the roof. Like structurally, you could beat everybody. And she started training and put on size, and she became a pro, right?
No shit.
Yeah. So it's like, and even that was like a strain, right? Because then you become, I'm sure you've had like instances where you've trained girlfriends or helped like someone you're dating, and it's like, it starts to blur these lines. It's like I had an issue the other day where I'm training my current girlfriend and I like snapped on her because I apologized to her.
Was that on the quad extension? I think I may have been walking by when that happened.
No.
I usually look at the ground whenever you're in the gym.
Yeah, but it was just like, it's like I'm used to like being people like pushing, right?
Yeah.
And obviously if someone's having a bad day, she's not competitive. She might aspire to that one day if she wants to, but it's kind of like I was still stuck in the other mode, and I just like shit was just not feeling right with the workout, like the intensity, and I was just like, the fuck? Like I just blew up a bit, right?
Yeah,
So I'm like,
and then you realize it's not Antoine Vaillant.
yeah, and then I'm just like, what the fuck? I need to relax. It's hard to like
separate church and state, dog.
Yeah.
Come on, you're smarter than that.
Yeah.
Well, I even struggle sometimes, like, and I just hide at the end of this hallway and keep the door closed.
Yeah.
And then he put like a fancy keypad on it so no one can fucking get back here. But it's like I struggle sometimes walking out and training here.
Yeah.
And I've had this where my office have been in gyms in the past where it's like, do you find it difficult now that you're transitioning more of your work time in the gym to then be able to like take that 2 hours or whatever it is to yourself, where it's like, you know, this is work. I'm sure people stop you all the time in here, like, you know, oh, you're the guy. Although,
yeah, I know.
quick
I
concession.
have a pretty like bad look on my face most of the times.
And it's not just the face. If I'm being, it's the whole package. It's like if I had to build an unapproachable person, and I know you,
But it's like I even get told that by people in this gym who are like people I know.
Yeah,
And,
no,
like
hi.
they're telling me like, oh man, like you just seem like you know. I'm like, I'm just standing there, man. Like
Yeah.
I can't tell what my face is doing. Like I'm.
just the whole. I think the tattoos one day would be a wicked just rundown. If there is, and I'm all for getting tattoos for the sake of just getting tattoos. What does it mean? It's like it means I got a thing on my neck.
Just thought of it and did it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, and I think that's what scares people because you look at him and go, "I bet you half of those are he thought of them and he did it." What if he thinks about striking me? He's gonna do it. He's definitely gonna do it.
No.
But I mean, yeah, maybe you don't run into that issue of like people running, like coming up to you and like I don't want to say bugging you because it's kind of like a part of what makes the job possible.
Yeah,
But
I actually like it. Like when I was in California last week, or the gym I was at, a couple of people like came up to me and like thanked me for like the content I'm putting out and all that stuff. So like I love that shit. Like I think it's really cool. But
is it difficult to spend a lot of time in a gym and then be able to carve that time out
to work out?
To work out?
No.
Just flip the switch. It's just kind of old hat.
I usually plan my training so that like I'm training myself first, and then the rest of the time I'm here, I have people, and then I'm out. Right?
Okay.
So it's like I've done my work, and now I'm putting people through their work, and I just leave. Right. It's not that I don't like being here. I just find that the more time you spend somewhere where like it's such like it's its own little microcosm of like drama and like relationships between people and like, you know what I mean? Like the more you can remove yourself from that and just come and go, it's better, right? Because like I don't want to know about so-and-so's issue with so-and-so or like this person's dating that person and then this happens. Like unless it's me dealing with those problems, it's none of my business what's going on with those people or or like anything to do like about people, especially I don't know that well. I don't want to know stuff about you.
The one nice thing about it, as like I don't want to say an outsider, is that's a dose of like what real office politics would be like.
Yeah.
So it's like no one has a job. Everyone's running around here with no clothes on.
Yeah.
But it's like at least that's like, you know, we don't have a mail room per se, but it's like, oh, that bitch. It's like, yeah, that's Susie from the mail room. If you had like a real job, like that's the equivalent. So when you do eventually like no longer have promo codes, you can go into the office space and be like, oh, that was just like that slot on the cable machine or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's a good, it's like life light.
It's always fun to like, there's always like people in every gym, like that's the whatever guy, that's the whatever girl, like, you know, like these characters in the gym setting, right?
Yeah.
And that shit's cool as hell to me because it's like, it happens everywhere. There's always like the guy who's like the quarter repper and like the girl who's like taking selfies in the mirror relentlessly. Like there's always that shit happening, right? So it's like, I like that shit. I don't like the other shit where it's like, you're kind of, if people start to get to know too much about you, they start inferring things about you, or they start like people like being like, "Oh, Mike's intimidating. He's not approachable." But you've never approached me,
Right.
And if you ever did approach me and had a question, I'd help you in a second. Yeah. I'd just be like, "Yeah, like, what are you doing wrong? What do you think you're doing wrong?" Or I'll stop and talk to you for 2 seconds and like go about my workout. Or if I'm not working out, I'll stand and talk to you for 10 minutes. Yeah. It's just that's your perception of me. Yeah. It's not my fault what you think of me because I have tattoos and whatever, and I'll walk around with like a smile on my face all the time, but I don't know many people that do that.
To be fair, if you did, I'd be more terrified. If you were walking around ear to ear grinning, I'd be like, I'm getting the fuck out of here because he knows something I don't.
Exactly.
When you were training prior, was your lifting obviously not as much inundated with social media, but like you got sponsored and all that? Like there's a certain obligation that comes with it. Back in the day, like the idea of like filming sets, having like an Allura around, was that a foreign concept?
Oh yeah.
Now, was it foreign because it wasn't industry standard, or was it foreign because like your mindset around it was like, get this camera away from me?
Yeah, I would have probably done it. I'm just not like, back in the day when I first started getting on social media, and still social media is the same now. It's like, it's almost like back in the day when it started, people were like kind of filming to show off.
Yeah.
It's like, look what I did. Look how ripped I am, whatever. Like, nowadays it's just like literally content. Like, doesn't matter what it is. Like, people are showing them eating, they're talking, going to the mall, like whatever it is.
They're showing a lot more than that. Here's my hog.
But it's like, the only thing I can literally remember outside of being in photo shoots for like a magazine or for like a particular photographer, I can remember like filming maybe 2 lifts in the gym ever.
Yeah. What were they? What was so film worthy of the 2?
One of them was like my buddy Rob. Back in the day, I did 5 plates aside on incline, and I did like 15 reps or something. And he just filmed it.
Yeah, I would.
And I was just like, I actually asked him like a month ago. I'm like, do you still have that somewhere? He's like, no. I was like, it's back in like fucking 2007 or.
It's on a Nokia flip phone
for sure, like a Motorola. But yeah, and maybe I think one other time I did like it was just like 200-pound dumbbell presses. Like, I had done them before, but someone filmed me again. I just had it on their phone.
It's funny because that is still like viral worthy shit.
Yeah.
Like 495, if my math is right, 5 plates aside, on incline for 15 is, I think, pretty unfuckwithable. That record still stands. Like, you probably take Larry. Yeah, I think you'd take Larry down on that.
Yeah, well, right now my pec would just pop off. Both of them would just snap.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. 135 on an incline.
The thought of doing that actually gives me anxiety. Like, to hold that weight above you.
Yeah, no
I'd
thanks.
just be like, no, I'm that fucking back.
There's Julius Maddox is closing in on an 800-pound bench press, and there's not a single scenario where 800 pounds doesn't scare me. Even like walking by an 800-pound loaded deadlift bar, I'm like, that. What if that rolled onto my toe? I'd be done for.
You know what I've been watching a lot lately is that Jamal Browner guy. Is that his last name? Browner?
Yeah.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone so effortlessly move weight.
Yeah, his bar speed, like when he puts the videos together of like basically 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, blue plate, like from up to like 1,000 pounds.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
man.
and he's not. I mean, he's big, like 265.
He literally does it, and then he puts it down, and he like clicks like,
yeah,
man, whatever's good, all right.
Didn't
feel right today.
I hate that. Can you look like you're trying at least?
Yeah, like
can
give
it look
us
like
a
it's
grunt
hard
or something?
Yeah, he's just always like criticizing himself. It's like, dude, it's 900 pounds.
Yeah. And he did it so easily.
Yeah.
Picked it up like 135.
I can't pick up 135 effortlessly at this point.
No.
Do you have any aspirations to like? I don't want to say aspiration to get back on stage because that's not the right way to frame it. But like, what drives your training now? Like, obviously before it was very, get on stage, got to put on more weight in an off season, got to cut down and get conditioned for a competition. But like, do you walk in now and be like, I need to do X, Y, and Z because of?
No, I just enjoy training. So like, it's just something I like to do. And it's not like I don't need like some type of goal to like do it for myself.
Yeah.
But my like motivating factor now, like being here, is just helping people be better, right? Like, because ideally in an ideal world, I would want my influence to be like, I walk in a gym and I see like a majority of people moving the way I move, and like moving efficiently, and like you don't see them doing their stupid shit anymore. They're very smooth in their movements, and they're developing better physiques for them, right?
Right.
So like, that's my end goal, is to not like, oh, like my training style is the best and my program is the best. It's like, no, I want to like come in the gym and see people doing like specific exercises that I've told them about or they've seen from me, and they're just doing it in a pattern that is like making them better, right?
Do you have one that in particular is caught on? Like, do you have
a
one
lot of I did a tricep video on my YouTube, and that thing blew up. And I do like a cable overhead extension, just a one arm, just for like to get more range in your tricep. And I've seen a lot of people trying that, and a lot of like my cable like press down one arms, like different angles and things like that. Like a superset of all 3. So it's been cool to like see that. And like the guys that I train, I see a lot of when they do chest now, I see a lot of them like moving through weight better.
The head thing throws me off. So I've been like, literally since we trained last, every single session, I'm sitting there, and like the guy next to me is like, what is this chicken doing? I'm sitting there like literally before the set, I'm like, fuck, like where does the head? So I'm just literally waiting for you to just come and grab my skull and be like, okay, forward, back, forward, back. Did you have any of that prior to, like when you were back competing in the day? Like, you go to a gym and notice like, okay, like I did this in X, Y, and Z. Like, I feel like one of the reasons that you rose so quickly is obviously what you're doing is working, number one. But your first client that it worked on was you. Right, because it's like that's kind of your point earlier. Like, yeah, there's all these coaches that they didn't really amount to much, and they still don't look like much.
Yeah.
But like, you're able to like, you know, have these top guys come to you, and you can take. I mean, I could go to Antoine and be like, hey, you should do 70 pounds on that, and he'd be like, oh, really? And he'd be like, well, fuck you in French, because I'm not big. Right, where you can step in. Like, how much of that ability to create influence do you think comes from your, like, your stature, the fact that you've done it, that this is how you train?
Yeah, I mean, that was when I got back into training people, I was thinking in my mind, because I had dropped down to like 260, so which was like really small for me, considering. Yeah.
Okay.
So I like fucking, because I wasn't lifting, like I was literally lifting like a couple times a week, like after I boxed, and I was just like doing it to just keep it going, like to keep the muscle up. And then when I made that transfer over, I was like, I'm just gonna, if I train in my style, I know that I can get back to the same proportions I was, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not pushing massive weights, man. Like, I'm not doing these heavy dumbbell presses and heavy this and heavy that. It's just like a matter of like the foundation was there, and then it's almost like you just have to wake stuff up, right?
So for you, it's more volume then. Like, that's a big driver of your training.
Yeah. And like I know myself well enough to know, like, I can't push as hard as like Antoine, or I can't push as hard as like some of these guys, right? Because like they have a lot more in the tank, and they never stopped training like this, whereas I did, right? And I've come back to it, and I have all these issues physically, like my shoulder and my bicep and a couple other things that are just like not good, right? So I have to be very, like, that's why when people see me training, they're like, oh, you're unapproachable. It's like, because I'm fucking thinking like, either what can I do to like make this movement better, because that fucking hurts, or like this angle is no good, or like I'm constantly thinking of like how I'm connecting with stuff, right? Because I'm super focused on like not injuring myself again.
Is there an athlete like in the bodybuilding space, or maybe even not the bodybuilding space, that like if you're confident that if you were to like work with them based off of their current training style, they'd be like, man, this guy, like this could like you could really blow this up if X, Y, and Z. Like if we could spend 6 months going to do a prep, or in preseason, whatever. Like, you know, maybe it's football, maybe it's bodybuilding, maybe it's fucking tennis. But is there a guy like, man, if I could grab this guy's attention for 6 months, and like you see something that maybe other people don't see, and that, you know, plugging in maybe a different approach might be super helpful?
No, because I think the guys that I have worked with here have made improvements just learning how to move better.
Yeah.
So like I don't look around at like some top guy and be like, oh, I could change him, or like, but I see a lot of top guys train, and I'm like, yeah, that's not good. Yeah. Like that's why your back sucks, or that's why you have no development of your lower lat, or like any type of like lat development, because everything's just this pull up all the time.
Yeah, I remember that MI40 video you did after it would have been the Olympia, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were talking about that.
So it's just like these guys are just obsessed with this, like they're not breaking their physiques down anymore.
Right.
And being
it's
like, what's missing here? Like, and why is it missing?
Yeah.
So if I want to hit my lats, I want to blow my lats out and get them like to hang, even like when I'm standing to the front, my lats hanging, like pushed out against my body, right? It's like, how do I get that? Obviously, I can't keep doing what I'm doing because it's not happening, right? Because you guys are pulling like whatever it is, deadlifts, or in your barbell rowing 5 plates off the ground. It's like, it's not happening. So it's obviously not the weight. It's like you're not targeting properly, right?
Yeah.
Like you're shooting at shit with a shotgun when you need to be shooting at it with a fucking sniper rifle. Like, so you get what you're trying to hit.
It's so definitive too, right? Like weak points in bodybuilding should be a thing of the past. Like, because we have enough information to be like, well.
Yeah, but that's the thing is then ego steps in, because you tell these guys like, okay, we're going to do like a dumbbell row, but you're going to set up completely differently. Yeah. And you're not just going to start a lawnmower, like jank this thing up and drop it. It's like you're going to have to like move through and understand like how you're moving through weight, right? Or like how you're coming up through something. And they're like, oh, this is only 70 pounds. I can do 150s. It's like, yeah, man, but the 150s is doing nothing for you. It's done what it can do because you look the way you look and you still have this hole in your physique, right?
The one thing that I noticed in training with you is you cue differently than anyone I've ever trained with.
Yeah.
And once I kind of like got what the cues, because you cue your hands like no one I've ever trained with.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense because like we have all of this dexterity, like we have this ability to like move our hands and like this awareness. We can just literally have more like motor units in our hands for fine motor things. So you cue this, I would say, more than anyone I've ever met.
Yeah.
Is this something that you just felt in your own training? that you started to cue mentally, or was this like, you know, they're not getting it? Like if I cue someone's shoulder, it's like no one has any fucking idea where their shoulder is.
Yeah, well, it's just like a lot of it came from like learning from my friend Darren, like trained me, and like then I would play with different angles like of my wrist or my hand or whatever it might be, right? So I actually got in an argument the other day on YouTube. This kid was talking about, because I take a monkey grip on benching.
Same.
So I monkey grip. I've never overhand gripped.
But could maybe, and maybe I could lend some insight to the guy arguing with you on the internet, the size of your fucking hands is a problem number one.
Yeah, but it's funny because like you say how like stuff doesn't transfer over. He was literally looking at the video and thought I had the bar here.
Oh, they said on the heel in the hand.
Yeah, it's literally like it's literally stacked underneath my elbow.
Yeah.
Like it's a perfect alignment with my forearm, right?
Right.
Whereas a guy who grabs here, it's like the bar can move any way it wants.
Right.
Whereas here I'm flat, and they're thinking like the weight's back here, so like, oh, the bar could roll off. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Right. He's like, you know, once you get heavier, you're not gonna be able to do that. Your wrists aren't strong enough. I'm like, what?
Your wrists.
I'm like, this is my wrist right here. Yeah. Like it's locked into my forearm. This is my hand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm stacked on my wrist joint. When
you press dumbbells this way as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the exact same.
I don't, on dumbbells, I'll wrap my thumb.
Yeah.
But I'm still like that.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
I'm not, I don't monkey grip, but it's just like this kid was like convinced, like, I'm like, well, you're saying that from your perception of what happens with you. But I'm telling you, I've benched like over 600 pounds in my life, and I had a monkey grip on every press.
Yeah.
I've never overhand gripped a press. I've never like
wrapped the thumb.
Because like even if I bring my hand, the back of my palm in line with my hand, and I come down, that's automatic. To get it to come down, I have to open elbows.
Yeah.
And I have to compromise my chest, right?
Right.
So it's like if I'm here, I have to like tuck in, and my elbow has to drop underneath my palm, right? So I'm forcing into my body and able to engage from my lat. It's like people don't understand, like you're good pressing. People who are really good at pressing, they're locked into lat. Yeah. They're not locked on their shoulder. Yeah. Like in these powerlifters, like who are taking these wide stances, even when they come down, they break, and it hits like mid-level chest here and comes up or arcs backwards, right? So it's like they're squeezing into lat to come down to lift that sternum up, right? So like it just doesn't transfer over to people. They don't get it. They're like, oh, you just have your wrist like this, and then you press like I press. It's like, yeah, if I press like this, yeah, it's gonna roll out of my hand. But I'm underneath my bar, right? Right. So it's just the constant like arguing with these internet people. And it's like also the fact that like I'm giving you the information I'm giving you. I'm not telling you like I'm the best trainer. Everyone else sucks. Don't listen to anyone else. I'm the way to go. I'm the last word. It's like, no, like this is what I do for me. Yeah. If it helps you, cool. If it doesn't, then fucking go watch someone else.
And also too, like your record this year alone, as far as turning people pro. And not like, obviously we don't want to be like disparaging and take the work away from them, but there's a lot of people in this gym that are now pro bodybuilders that started working with you in the last year. And obviously like there's a convergence of like their career and your career. Mm-hmm. But that to me is like, there's so many bodybuilding coaches that hang their hat on, I don't know, I was just going to say like coaching Phil Heath.
Yeah. There's a lot of like these coaches, right, who people will buy their programs, like whoever it might be. There's a couple like pretty well known people.
The number of air quotes you've thrown up in the last 30 seconds is a new record.
It's
just
like,
saying something.
It's like so this person sends you a program, and their programming might be something you've never done before. Where it's like, oh, do a certain amount of reps, rest for 5 seconds, do some more reps, rest for 5 seconds, whatever it is, right?
It's magic.
So it's like all this stuff. Like you think that was the difference, but you're still the missing ingredient.
Right.
You're trying harder because this person gave you this and you believe in it. Yeah. So you're adhering to it and you're following it. Whereas before you were just probably flittering around in air. Right. Like, oh, I did this today and this. Like, no, someone gave you structure and your natural ability took over and you grew. Yeah. So it's like, that's what I'm saying when I train these guys here. Like, I'm not responsible for how Antoine looks or how Quentin looks, or like when I've helped Regan, it's like those guys look the way they look without me. But I can see where they're locked down and why they're not hitting certain areas, and I try and show them that. Yeah. I'm not teaching you how to.
You're not calling them on the way, but like, stop, get 7 muffins and a bagel, and then come in. Like, but that's what bodybuilding coaching's turning into.
Yeah, that's all. And like, it drives me crazy. Like, I understand that someone who diets you is technically a coach because they are coaching you through the process of dieting. Yeah. But when I think of a coach, it's like It's like in football. I have my position coach, who's my real fucking coach, because I see that motherfucker every day and he reams me out and corrects me and fixes everything. And then I have my head coach, who I barely talk to unless I get in real shit.
Right, yeah.
Unless I really fucked up. And then he's going to come to my position coach. My position coach is going to shit on me. So it's like these diet coaches are the head coach. And my position coach is the guy who actually trains me and changes what I do and makes my physique better. Because like no amount of meals or cheats or like strategic fucking, we did D-ball for 2 weeks and then we took it out. It's like none of that shit matters if your training's garbage, man. Yeah. It's like saying that an Olympic level sprinter is going to get faster without having his stride changed, or the way his like toe strikes, or how long his stride length is, or what he's doing. Yeah. Because he has a coach like Charlie Francis who's like, whoa, man, like this isn't good. You need to stay down longer. Yeah. Like for that 100 yards, you need to be down for 50, man, and then come up. You're not getting enough leg drive out of the blocks, right? So it's like, that's the guy who's making the difference. Yeah. Anybody could diet anybody. Let's be honest. Like anybody, there's smarter ways to diet, so you're not crashing people's fucking hormones and fucking them up, and like they're just a mess because they have no carbs or whatever. But it literally comes down to like, you could design yourself a program, like a starting base of like 3,000 calories, and you could just go by the mirror by you following it, adding in cardio. Once cardio stops eliciting results, then we start dropping carbs a bit. Like, and it's just, you'll see yourself get leaner. But these guys have all convinced people that I have some magic formula that gets you shredded. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's called a caloric deficit, man. Right. It's not fucking rocket science.
And it's more useful to have someone over your shoulder going into a rep over rep, like your position coach, than it is to have like I don't need my head coach calling plays. I just need to know what each route is, right? Like I think nutrition coaches have aligned themselves not even as like they're dependent. They're trying to make themselves like a dependent relationship where it's like the coaching
too.
Well, yeah, because you see what happens when the coaching relationship falls off. You see people ballooning up post show.
Yeah, and it's also like you see these people who have worked with this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy, and you can see the trend, right? Like, oh no, he didn't have it. Now he has it. And now this is the guy, I'm going with him. It's like, but they're all fucking saying the same thing, man. Yeah. They might organize it in a different way, or like make it look prettier to you, or like, oh, you take cranberry juice at every meal and apple cider vinegar at every meal. Your digestion will be optimal. It's like, the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah,
like,
they're still gonna go in and pull like a donkey when they're fucking training.
Yeah, and these guys, like, I'd much rather like Quentin is a good example. Like I train Quentin on back and try to help him, like, because it's not that he doesn't have a back, it's just that he has a hard time engaging, and his back wasn't open. Like his lats weren't able to like open off his body and relax because he was just so pinched in up top, right? And now when I see him training by himself, I see him like coming up through things and like rocking up through things. And when he hit his rear double at the show, it's like you can see it. Like there still needs to be filled in but he's young. It should need to be filled in, but it still needs to like kind of get denser and like more 3D. But you can see that the framework's there now. Yeah. So if he keeps moving the way he moves, he'll develop the way he should develop. And he doesn't need me over his shoulder every day. Yeah. And no one should need you that much, because it's like, I understand that's a stupid thing for me to say, because I should want to like make money and like, you need me, I need to be there every workout. It's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to do this by yourself at some point. Yeah. You're going to have to stop relying on people. You're going to have to stop paying $5,000 for a prep from this top guys.
Is that what they go for?
That was back in my day.
Lundy, scrap the studio. This is what we do now.
Yeah. So it's like, you know what I mean? And they're doing, those prep guys, a lot of the time, is just like holding your hand. Yeah. And then they're telling you, like, they're getting you to a certain point, and then they're telling you these last 2 weeks, that's my specialty.
Peak week.
I'll bring you in.
Peak week.
And like you see these guys like, almost time for carbs. And they're like, and then they get their, and then they're like, first day of carb up. Like, what do you think, you're going to change into another human being?
Yes, they do think that.
Like, you literally think that you're going to step on stage and be like 25 pounds heavier and like packed like you're Branch Warren. Yeah. When you're a fucking 213 pound bodybuilder, like, carb it up. And bikini girls do it.
Yes.
Carbon up. Like, for what?
Carrot sticks.
Get your ass on stage and be skinny, because that's what you're supposed to do. Like, you don't need to be full.
Oh man, I don't know how you haven't a full blown aneurysm. Yeah. Because I get to you're my sounding board for this. Yeah. Because I don't have to deal with it for the rest of the day. This is it. I get it out of my system. You come in, you do this, and then I'm good for like at least a few months until we do this again.
Yeah. It's fun to like. It's just not fun. It's like crazy to see how like it never changes, right?
Yeah, that's a wild perspective because you saw it when in a time where no one else really could, unless you were in, you know, competitive bodybuilding pre it being like cool on social media. Everyone thinks this is the first iteration where it's like, to you it must be cyclical as hell, just the same.
It is a good thing though that it is like becoming so popular, because at least kids are, and people are like, they're going to the gym instead of fucking like drinking their face off or going to a bar. You know what I mean? Like there's other stuff kids would be doing if they weren't doing this, right? And you see these like, yeah, they're taking juice and they're being a little stupid with what they're doing just to like emulate these people they look up to. But it's like, there's worse things.
See, you're such a better person than me, because I need to remember that, because when I come in here and it's 5 o'clock, and I'm assuming that's when high schools get out, 5 o'clock, I have no idea. But there's like, there's always two, they come in pairs. One is slightly taller than the other. They have sweatpants tucked into the socks is the new thing. And they're wearing like stringers and hats inside, which I also don't get, like toques inside. Like, guys, we got HVAC, we're going to be fine. And I look at those and I go, fuck those kids. And here you are going like, well, keep them off the street. We're an after school program.
Well, it's like, God knows what the fuck they'd be doing otherwise. Like, they're probably still doing all that stuff they shouldn't do, but at least they're
here for
training, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You know what? It's going to turn into one of those like Maury Povich, like prison reality things where Mike's just going to like scare him straight. You're going to come in here, do one workout and be like, don't do drugs. Or at least not street drugs. All right, man. Well, hey, I appreciate your time as always. It's good to get insights into the bodybuilding world from my own psyche, because I think I'm nuts sometimes. Like, I feel like that thing in Zoolander where I'm like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Because I walk around this place and someone else must see the craziness that goes on in here. Yeah. And that's you.
The thing is that they're all those kids that you see that you're like, oh, these fucking moron kids. Like, it's just, you got to get them away from the other moron kids who are on fucking Instagram or like TikTok or whatever. Like, there's a kid I saw on TikTok, I don't even remember his name, but he was just like, he's got like 1 million followers. Because someone tagged me in his video, like, yo, you need to go train with Mike. Like, said that to him, right? And I'm like, so I looked at the kid and he's just like, his mechanics were like, I understood what he was saying. Yeah. But like the way he was doing it made like, and he's 140 pounds. Right. And he's like, you know, you got to flex your pack. And like,
what pack? You're 140
and
pounds.
He's like,
you don't have
this is how you're dealt. And he's like moving. It's just so slow and so like overthought. Like, oh, it's 10 pounds. And I'm just like getting so jacked from it. It's like, at some point you're going to have to move weight, guys. Like,
I can't wait for you to just turn into like a celebrity boxing thing. We just go toe to toe with fitness influencers. Just bare knuckle. Like helmets and gloves. We do helmets and gloves thing. That'd be amazing. Anyways, man, I appreciate you hanging out always. Instagram at Big Mike Van Wyk.
Yeah. YouTube's WYCKED Training.
That's right. All right. Lundo will link it all up in the show notes, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, dude.